Hey guys, welcome to the show. Happy New Year. If you'd like to support this channel, there are PayPal and Patreon links in the info box below. We got a great one lined up for you today. As it turns out, it's one day after the birthday, the Black Swan birthday. Let's see if we got anyone here in Discord. What's up, guys?
Welcome to Ballbusters.
Hey, good evening.
Hello, hello, hello. What's going on, people?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Just drinking a bud, watching the game.
Just chilling.
Yeah, we were talking about just before we went live. I just got this feeling. I'm not Mystic Megan it, but this is gonna be a memorable one this year, I think.
Ether Wars.
Uh-oh. Never heard of that.
Yes, you have. Adam called it.
Yes, you have. Yeah, I have. Yeah, we're not going to mess around with too much ether today. This is a celebration day today. The Black Swan, baby.
Exactly. It's left its indelible mark on community that we would refer to as anti-flat earthers, as opposed to your average Joe coffee and Betty bread maker, bull-believing normie. Your globe troll trench level fundy has had a very, very bad year. Don't get me wrong, 2020 was pretty bad for everybody in many different ways. But if you're a bull-believing zealot, it was a particularly bad year because throughout all of the debate, we've always had this assertion that the horizon was Earth curve. They used to qualify it with maths and ask us how many feet and inches are missing and why. Now they tell us that nobody claims that the horizon is Earth curve. We don't claim the geometric horizon's visible. The geometric horizon only exists in the maths. Things like that. Devastating year 2020. The year of the Black Swan.
It was killer, wasn't it? PTBSD is out there everywhere, man.
It's left a mark.
PTBSD, post-traumatic black swan disorder.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's led to all manner of nonsense from their step and infection. They're still doing. And by the way, as I said, well, like I said, I was lowballing, so I missed this one. I said it would take 9 months for them to actually understand the argument collectively. They don't. I've asked a few people over the past 3 weeks. Can you tell me what the Black Swan argument is? Nope.
I'm going to do that right now, just so the audience has it right at the beginning of the show. If the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance to horizon can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Now, the image blacked the the Black Swan rather, was taken from 1 foot and shows the horizon in excess of 10 miles, way beyond the geometric capabilities laid down in the Modus Tollens argument, which has just been presented. If the Earth is a sphere, radius 3959 miles, then every distance to horizon can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Every time you show a horizon beyond that geometric distance, that's a physical limitation to that sphere edge horizon, and you've debunked the notion that we have a physical sphere edge for a horizon, i.e. you have debunked the Earth as a sphere. The horizon, in simple terms, debunks the Earth as a sphere.
Yes, sir. It's just that simple. And the only thing they got is refraction. They don't understand refraction collectively, right? But they don't even realize that when they do that, when they say or bagak refraction, that they hammer, pummel, and just take the shovel into their own face, their argument. They still don't realize it.
I want to reminisce about that, so I want to take it apart before we do, but I mentioned this on a lot of the debates when you're not there. Reminisce about the conversation we had prior to it be 2019, prior to the 1st of Jan 2020, before the argument was fully developed and released to the public. But before we reminisce, before the harp music plays, I want to take apart what you've just said. So they smash their face in the shovel when they say refraction. But refraction. Well, no, because their refraction is 7/6 of the radius value. It's a geometric value. So again, if they parrot the word optical, no, their refraction is standard refraction, otherwise known as terrestrial refraction, 7/6 of the radius value in its standard form. Well, that standard, otherwise known as terrestrial refraction, is requiring an R value, and they derive the R value from the geometric physical sphere edge horizon debunked by the black swan, leaving the argument in what we've now fondly dubbed Darwin's paradox. You can't move the horizon with an R value if you can't measure the R value with the physical horizon. It's got to be physical to move the horizon to a non-physical location with its physical R value that you can't measure anymore. It's a paradox, basically. No, you can't just parrot off R, because your R is also destroyed when you say the horizon is no longer a physical location. And when I say physical location, I mean formally blocking boats and buildings with a feet and inches value that you asked us to qualify. Epic. Anyway, to reminisce, the harp music. Back in the day, QE put this argument to me after a video by Taboo Conspiracy 2, now Conspiracy 3, because his channel's been shut down multiple times, not over the Black Swan, I might add. Nevertheless, he presented the Black Swan image, or the video, which would eventually have a still taken from it and get dubbed the Black Swan. We'll come to Karl Popper later. But that was presented with an argument that stated where the horizon was situated in its physicality would place the radius of the Earth at a greater distance than the claimed orbital path of the moon in the heliocentric model. So if you imagine how far they say the moon is away and how far it would circle Earth, that's where your radius would put the outside edge of the sphere. That's where your equator would be, but like beyond that, in fact. So that's the way the argument was originally put forward by Ben. Big shout out to him at Taboo Conspiracy. And through various verbalizations, Quantum Eraser attempted to explain to me the significance of how that doesn't work or couldn't work with a sphere and how that was a very strong argument, but I just didn't get it. So after about 2 or 3 attempts, he eventually formulated it into what is now the Modus Tollens argument. If Earth is sphere, radius 3959, every distance to horizon can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Horizon beyond 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Therefore, the Earth not a sphere. Once it was presented to me in that manner, I got it instantly, and I was like, "Do you realise the significance of this?" It's like, yeah. he formulated the argument, but it was just very significant to me and one other person I'll give credit to here because of something I'm going to demean us both for, which is Spurs. The Spurs quickly got it. It took a while to actually hear the argument. I wasn't paying attention to the shows, but once he heard the argument, like me, he got it immediately and recognized how important this argument was. And he and I got into a discussion about it, right? Bearing in mind that he'd picked it up after the fact and it was already beyond where we'd guessed people would get the argument. So I was very low. I'm like, oh, I'll get it instantly, you know. And Spurs, after he'd come to the argument 2 or 3 months later, and I already knew that people weren't getting instantly, declared that people will get this instantly, right? Why wouldn't they get it, says Spurs. I'm like, no, mate, it's going to take them a while. And he protested and told me how simple it was and how important it was, just like I'd done with John, which was quite... But there we go.
Yeah. Memories.
Yeah. Memories.
That was a year ago, right?
A year ago.
Oh, we got an echo going on. Who is it? Mystery.
Just a blip.
It's no one, just a blip. That was 1 year ago. Boy, that went fast. Didn't it?
Did. Well, I was well into 4 or 5 months into 2020 making Black Swan videos, and then all the COVID stuff blew up. It kind of put a bit of a dampener on me keeping that ball rolling because, you know, you want to keep the momentum going for the argument so that people get it. Now, by the time that did happen, people did definitely understand it on our side of the argument. Now, don't get me wrong, our guesses of 6, 12, 14 months chocolate, yeah, they were well off because still having in late 2020 people come to the argument going, Black Swan, that's debunked by refraction, like Tim Osman. You then get into the wrangle dangle of the actual argument with me, and realize that their declarations at the end that nobody's claiming the horizon is Earth curve would be a relinquishment of their globe Earth reification and the globe Earth itself. But they don't realize the significance of the argument after 12 straight months of us punting it. Unbelievable, but true.
Yep.
That's why I made that call for 14 months, because once I realized, like, they're literally telling us our own argument and telling us how apparent the horizon is and how optical it is, and it's all perspective. And I'm like, wait a minute. this is our argument, man. These guys are literally reverting back to what we've been telling them for years, and now telling us that. Well, where was this hard physical horizon that was supposed to be blocking boats all these years? And and now I'm saying, I don't know, 14 months. I don't know. It might take longer for some of them. I think 14 months was too short.
Yeah, it's going to be way too short. I predict. What did I predict again? I had another Mystic Meg prediction. What was that? 2025, I think.
No, well, initially you said 6 months.
No, I said 9 months initially.
Yeah, and then I upped it.
Then Chocolate upped it after a few weeks because they were like, duh, right?
Yeah, and
This
I
is the
called
better-
It's
never.
still like, duh.
I'd much rather, because it was frustrating at first when they barked refraction at you thinking they'd got to win, then went away thinking they'd got to win because they didn't understand the argument or the rebuttal that came thereafter. You know, that's where Welcome to Flat Earth got developed. The reason we have Welcome to Flat Earth, because the Black Swan argument is so powerful that in an attempt to debunk it on the globe side, you'll end up making declarations like, nobody claims we see geometry, or nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve, or the horizon as a geometric physical point only exists in the maths. You know, all of these are very devastating declarations from the globe side. Now, that's through pure ignorance. In other words, if they had have understood the argument prior to actually debating it, they'd have kept their mouths shut. They'd have realised there's no escape, there's no win, there's no defending it, and any attempt like refraction is going to lead you to be telling us how non-physical the horizon is. Something you've been claiming is blocking boats and buildings with its Earth curve edge physicality. It's going to lead to you telling us how non-physical it is at the end of the debate. Exactly. Well, that's wonderful. Long live the ignorance of the Black Swan, because they just come in and then tell us how non-physical the horizon is, how it isn't Earth curve. Epic. I hope they remain ignorant permanently.
Well, they're okay with basically now claiming they've never claimed that, and they'll just move deeper within the cognitive dissonance. And that's what they do. They keep on digging. We debunk another one of their claims, and then they just bypass it and dig on.
They not only bypass it, they train wreck their entire argument. That's why I said it's a spade shovel in the face as soon as they respond, because there is no coherent response back, except to say, yep, that's correct. That's the only response to the argument. Any other response, you're taking the spade shovel to your own face. And unwittingly, they don't even realize it. All right. It happened today. Before I came on here, I was adding the show in Discord, and somebody said, refraction. Yep, that's all they said, refraction. I said, you got to be kidding me. It happened less than an hour ago. I woodshedded his.
Well, from what I've experienced so far, especially this year, seems more and more like the ballers just, they don't see the arguments we lay down. They don't see the consequences as that big of a deal.
Yeah.
So they've gotten this habit of bypassing it by literally just not have, to them, it doesn't have that much weight. So they just move on and think that's okay. To us, that's a critical failure. To them, it's just daily business of doing things. So that's where that's going, I think.
Anything else? Anything else besides giving up their own religion right off the bat? Anything else? Anything else that stands out?
I don't see them giving up their religion. They're just chipping away at the story part of the religion. Their objectives and the methods are still all there.
Well, what's the best that we've done?
Well, the best we've done is literally
Debunk the radius.
everything. We took apart everything. There's basically nothing left for us to demolish. We defaced it all.
But at
And
best,
they're just keeping it going in the ruins, and they're just gonna keep going with the ruins.
So at best, we did what?
We
that's
debunked the
what
Ballbusters.
you've done is debunk the radius.
That's the best that we've done? I can live with that.
Yep,
That's everything.
take that. No problem, buddy.
Can you imagine showing your face live and stating that? Can you imagine somebody that that's not even insane. That's on another I don't know what the call that. You?
I do. It lies within the realm of sophistry because he didn't actually mean what we caught out of it, even though those consequences are naturally there by him saying it. But to him, it was just detail work. And they do this shit all the time. They just mock up because they think from a winning position standpoint, just going in their sophistry, and then they make these types of remarks. And we're just looking at, you guys are insane. Because you don't even realize like how feeble the grounds are you are resting on. And they just keep on going anyway. So they live in another world, in a world of cognitive dissonance, constant.
Indeed, and it's painful. In the concise rebuttal to the Bagag, just to round this bit out, I don't know where we'll go from here, but is if the horizon is refracted, it's not geometric.
Yep.
We only have one horizon. The horizon in the geometric globe Earth model is geometric.
Yes.
Need a geometric horizon to have a globe Earth model, and if it's refracted, it's not geometric. That's the end of their argument. That is essentially Arwin's paradox. Can't both be refracted non-physical and physical geometric at the same time. It can't represent both things, and we've only got one horizon.
Yep. That's it.
Right.
But
And
why
the
would
actual
they say that?
paradox. Well, the actual paradox lies in that they will forward terrestrial refraction as part of proof for the radius, yet in terrestrial refraction, the radius value is assumed. And that is really what makes it a technical mathematical paradox for the proof.
Yes, exactly. Yep. We're going to get to that here in the
Not
presentation.
only is it assumed, but isn't it a category error? Because first you were talking about light, now you're talking about the size of the actual physical curve of the Earth.
Yes, it is a category error. Yes, exactly. They're two different things. You can't get a geometric radius from a refracted value. Duh. It's just that simple. Every time you Bagag refraction, we're going to get to that here in a couple minutes, it's you train wreck your own argument. And then you laugh like you've won. It's Mr. Magoo on steroids. It happens constantly. It happens every day. I put this argument out almost on a daily basis now.
Hopefully
They
by
ain't
now.
getting it.
Hey, Neil. I ain't getting it, you're right. But hopefully they've seen enough, even if they still don't get it. But when somebody who they might consider competent comes to debate about the subject, ends up saying something that absolutely demolishes the concept, philosophy of being on a sphere by their own declaration. That's what debating the Black Swan leads our opponents doing. So, if nothing else, I would hope that if they don't still understand the argument, they recognize that that's what happens when they debate it, especially if they don't understand it. And if they did understand it, they just wouldn't debate. And that's why there's been a fair bit of silence from them, right? During debate 2020, wouldn't you say, on Flat Earth Debate, those who are on the panel regularly?
I agree. Very quiet.
Only the most tenacious, rumpusing types of individuals have really come on, and the trolls. There's a lot of the older baller debaters that haven't really returned at all. They all just went away. Because they're probably not up to the task of even trying to defend it anymore, or they're not willing or incapable of going into that deep level of cognitive dissonance. Maybe it's just too difficult for them now.
Attention
Or
on
they recognize that they can't win the argument. So, for early 2020, certain people responded with certain rebuttals. Obviously, we trim them out and we put them on videos and we've played them ever since, quoted them at nausea. So, there's going to be a fair few of them that'll go, I want no part of that. Every time you get into a tete-a-tete about this black swan, you end up being held up as a poster child for debunking globe Earth. Making statements like the geometric horizon only exists in the maths from the rumpus, or we wouldn't expect to see a geometric horizon from AB maths, or nobody expects to see geometry from planar walk, or Tim Osman with the most recent one, having ducked out the subject and then come back going, oh, I just have to say refraction to this, and then hold up my comparative pictures of geometric sphere edge horizons I'm claiming are Earth curve with a title that says this is Earth curve. Make it up.
Yeah, you can't buy that type of irony and comedy all in one swoop.
Nope. I could see how that tickled you. That's hilarious. Attention on the panel. Ballbusters, the Adam Meakin is here.
Wow.
Evening, everyone. Sorry for the late arrival. And obviously, happy birthday, little Signet. It's good to see you. 1 year old for yesterday.
Good to have you, Adam. Thanks for coming, man. If you weren't late, then you wouldn't be Adam Meakin, sir.
Hey, I had lovely, freshly made pulled pork, so it was could have been longer, but I'm too full. But yeah, apologies.
No apologies necessary. We're just reveling in a birthday celebration of that little Signet.
I've actually got my Black Swan hoodie on.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, yesterday and today.
Sweet man. Go ahead, Nathan. We're rumpusing you.
The time period that we all guessed in terms of how long before the ballers get it. Now, obviously, we've all adjusted time frames since, but initially, can you remember how long you thought it would be before everyone on the globe side would get the Black Swan Modus Tollens side?
Oh, I was probably ridiculously optimistic. I mean, once I saw it and it was so beautifully formulated, it's like you can't not get it. So I'd have thought I'd have probably gone for about 5 or 6 weeks, I think, before they capitulated on it and tried to avoid it. Totally would have been my guess, but
you're like me.
We're still waiting, aren't we?
You've got this optimistic overview of life that people are generally quite intelligent, and if you've got it that quick, then so will everyone else, right? Yeah. How wrong were we?
Didn't happen. All right. Well, without further ado, unless you guys want to celebrate more, anyone going to crack the bubbly?
Should be a bit cracking, and I'll tell you why. Because prior to 2020, people were always on the globe side at least saying, well, where's your silver bullet? Well, the Earth has got to have some sort of curvature to demonstrate it as a sphere. And the claim is, let's quote one of their Let's Debate Flat Earth advice panel columnists, where they go, it all starts at the horizon. They're all pointing their cameras at the horizon. They're all asking us how much the horizon blocks stuff. It's all about the horizon, right? Well, we've debunked the horizon as a physical geometric sphere edge. It's not. So that's the end of any assertion that we've got sphere edge horizons and Earth curvature. Well, Earth is obviously and observably and measurably flat. Well, if you wanted a silver bullet, there it is. Destroying any notion of the reification of a... It seems so preposterous to say this, but a sphere Earth, having people hanging off it antipodal, being Earth curvature, the horizon being an edge that you can see from high altitude, all that nonsense, all dead. The Black Swan, all of it. It's your silver bullet. You wanted one prior to now, that's it. If you didn't recognize it before now, I'm telling you, this is that silver bullet. It's number 1 on our top 3 globe debunkings. Top 3. It's number 1.
Wait a second, Nathan. Wait a second, Nathan. Hey, Miggy from 24/7 Flat Earth Discord 2.0. Listen up, sir. Go ahead, Nathan.
Well, I forgot what I was talking about. I thought you were going to launch into the presentation.
No, the top 3.
Okay, yeah, we'll do the full-on shebango. Dun, 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 dun. At number 3, it's Coriolis effect. If the Earth was turning, then we would observe a 15 degrees an hour turn of the Earth as it turned underneath an inertial reference frame. This would cause a flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to LA to take only an hour and a half as Earth turned underneath. Obviously, given that the flight takes 4.5 hours, we have no Earth turning underneath anything at 15 degrees an hour. Dun, 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 dun. Down one at number 2, it's gas pressure without a container. How can you have gas pressure without a container? You can't. It's a violation of the second law of thermodynamics. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the space. Space is fake. Dun, 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 dun. And now, for a full year, unmoved from number 1, it's the black swan. If the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959, then every distance to horizon could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. And it is demonstrably proven beyond all certitude, not that you need more than one, that the radius of the Earth cannot be measured because we do not have a geometric physical sphere edge for a horizon. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
Bravo.
Wow. That was absolutely flat-tastic there, mate.
I love the dun, 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 dun. But I like the end where you add the dun, dun, dun.
Is that the dating game music?
Oh, yeah, it's our top 3 for the top 3 globe debunkings. And that's why it's a silver bullet, because it's all well and good saying, right, you've now got pictures from space. Space is fake. You know, if the sky was a vacuum, we wouldn't have any gas. It's nonsense. We need something for it to press upon. Now, I don't know what that is, but I know we must have something for it to press upon for us to have gas pressure. Therefore, any claim that you've got pictures from space is fake. That was the former number 1 because it's so strong. All of their claims are utilizing this fake medium to propose this whole narrative about Star Wars, basically. We don't have it. Space isn't a vacuum for them to travel to the lights in the sky. That doesn't debunk the essence of the heliocentric model from where we stand and where it's reified from. And that's that the ground beneath your feet falls away from you at 8 inches per mile squared. That gives it physical geometric limitations. 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet is where that horizon must be if it's a hill getting in the way. That's what they say it is. It's a hill getting in the way because of its physical nature, obstructing things into the distance. And as soon as you put it beyond that physical limitation of a sphere, and it's not a physical horizon, and they tell us that in rebuttal. We wouldn't expect to see the physical geometric horizon. That only exists in the maths and in your reified world that you think you're standing on when you think the Earth is curving away from you. It isn't. We don't have physical geometric sphere edges for horizon. We've only got one horizon. It can't be refracted, non-physical, and geometric like the maths suggests when you say it's blocking stuff with physicality. That's why the black swan is that silver bullet. And it's very important that people after a year recognize the significance, why it's the number 1 argument that we would ever propose. Now, there's other people that say, oh, I still put forward gas pressure without a container because debunking space is much easier for your average normie to digest in 30 seconds. Yeah, but debunking space, I've met several people that don't think that the moon landings are real and pull it apart, but then go, what? Oh, of course, we're still on a sphere in a sky vacuum. And you could use it to your advantage with those people. And at the end of that argument, they'd still think they were on a sphere because you've not debunked the essence of it. And the essence is that we've got a physical horizon that's blocking stuff into the distance. And that's Earth curve from the ground. From the sky, well, we've debunked from the sky. Space is fake. Can't have gas pressure without a container. Last but by no means least on the top 3, they claim we're spinning. Well, we'd notice there'd be Coriolis effect. Then they say that there is Coriolis effect. Well, we'd notice and there isn't. Anything in the air for any significant period of time doesn't have Earth turning underneath, and that's what you need to have Coriolis effect. Those top 3 in that order, I think, are the most significant debunkings because they're the essence of the heliocentric world. Earth spinning in a vacuum as a sphere. That's it. That's what your heliocentric model is. All debunked with those 3 arguments.
Damn, that was inspiring.
Why'd you call out Miggy?
Who's not inspired? Why'd I call out Miggy? Well, he's taken the 3 points, as they're called, and he's putting the boots to all the baltards now. Or potential baltards or the new people. So it's called Miggy's 3 points. Well, those 3 points are measurement of the Earth's curvature, axial rotation, and the vacuum of space. Where'd they come
Oh, is he
from?
giving us any credit?
No.
Oh, no. We can't have that.
Oh yeah, we can. I'm more than happy for anybody to say
No.
that. Like,
I have to correct it. I have to
Oh,
correct it. Mickey
no.
has given props to where the origination of the 3 points have come from. So, just to
Okay.
put that on record.
There you go. That demolishes that. But I just want to say that I'm in many ways going to argue against him giving credit, and I'll explain why. If you're in the arena with anybody else arguing about this particular subject, then you own the argument. In other words, let's say you've got a vague notion because this is the only time you've ever heard about it and go, wow, those are silver bullets, you say. And then you load those, I don't know anything about guns. What's a small caliber? I was going to say a small caliber bullet into a shotgun. In other words, you're not using the ammunition correctly, then you're going to get annihilated. Someone's going to blow you up with a hand grenade, just to keep the analogy going. Anyway, my point is that you can't then say, well, credit turns into blame. And actually, this is Quantum Eraser's argument. Notice how I put it on Quantum Eraser now, not me.
Yes, I noticed that.
My point being that if it's being put forward by you, then it's your argument. You've got to own it. You've got to know it. You've got to be able to defend it. And if you win, own the credit for it too. Because,
Exactly.
yeah, the argument is very well put together, but to argue the argument, because if you put forward Modus Tollens and just repeat what I've said about 4 times because it's a Black Swan show, and somebody just says, well, refraction, and you don't know what to say, your next words aren't, well, your refraction needs R, and you can't get R if you haven't got a horizon that's physical. If you can't parrot that off in the next breath, then you're going to get smashed, and you can't then blame Quantum Eraser for not having a good enough argument. You didn't understand it.
Yep.
So in the same way as he's saying, well, you should give credit. Like, well, why should he give credit? Because he's winning with it? Well, you go. You own that argument, my friend. More power to you.
Hold on a second. I heard Led Zeppelin cover bands, and they sound good, but they're not Led Zeppelin.
Well, yeah. What's the connection? You're saying Miggy's not Led Zeppelin?
I think he's saying that you're an old rocker, John.
Now this is done. This is done in tongue in cheek, man.
Then this is involved in the conversation. I think he's just off mute in a record store, moaning about the album he's just bought.
Yeah, like I said, this is done in jest and tongue in cheek. I love those guys over at 24/7. Miggy, shout out. Jedi Chocolate's always over there, but he's putting this argument to new people to show them that what they have are merely beliefs. It's very powerful. I like the way he's situated them and arranged them and how he goes about it. It's quite telling. If you ever get a chance to hear him, I'd suggest it. So shout out to Miggy. Yep, go ahead,
That's
Chuck.
why I would give him so many props, right? Because like us over here, right? So what we've done, we've taken the top 3 globe killers, right? And we've taken them to the staunch globers, the globetars that we deal with all the time, and we murder them with it, right? But like Quantum said, he's taken this to new people, and he's almost molded it and weaponized it into a form to help new people understand that what they have in these 3 points is a belief. And he's done it in a beautiful way. So yeah, much props to Mickey for that.
Yep. So no copyright infringement. I'll call the lawyers back officially.
And likewise, you don't have to name and shame. It's like if somebody cocks up an argument or gets something wrong, you spend all day labouring the point about the person and the individual and making it personal, or you focus on the things, the points, how it's wrong, correcting those points. It's the same principle when you reverse it. In other words, it's all well and good saying, have you given credit when something's gone well? Well, I would say, well, you don't have to give any credit because you just own it. It's your credit. And likewise, if that person mucks up, you don't have to necessarily name and shame them. You can just highlight what's been done incorrectly rather than labouring the personality and the person that's got it wrong. It works both ways. In other words, my saying you don't have to necessarily give credit if you've done well in an argument because you've understood it and can convey it and can put it across in a debate. And me, I just like, I ain't got time for credit when that happens. You know what I mean? Sorry.
Yeah. Damn, you're inspired today, Nathan. What's got into you, man?
I think I'm same old. This is me, man.
Yeah, Black Swan birth. Something's got you, man. You're it's inspiring to listen to you today. You got all kind of energy, man.
He's not the only one. A lot of energy in the air, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All
Could
right.
be group energy.
Go ahead.
Group
Nathan.
energy. Well, I was just gonna say it could be group energy because as much as Christmas and New Year, I'm a bit of I'm not a Grinch in Christmas. I've got kids now, so but certainly New Year, I see it as all a bit silly. And in spite of that, I can't disagree with Arwin. There's a certain vibe that just goes around because the people have got that, right? So that energy will always cascade over. So, for instance, Bible literalists and I were saying, well, this is kind of arbitrary and meaningless and a bit silly and backwards in terms of where they put it in the calendar. And we discussed all the rides and methods. But then both of us, following that stream or in a different stream later that day, we're still there putting our little emojis with, blowing out candles and blowing up balloons and saying Happy New Year to people. In other words, you're still caught up in it, regardless of how much you want to be miserable about it, in my case. So it's like there is just a positive energy, right?
Yeah. You got it,
right.
man.
Right.
You got it. You're infected.
You're on fire.
Yeah, hey, and I could even theorize colloquially about it that a lot of people are like finally getting back to their normal rhythm because a lot of people are like having to do this vacation stuff, and you might be surprised that a lot of people are not very comfortable with doing that, and then it's a great relief to go back to normal again. So we might even be riding a bit on that wave of energy as well.
Well, thank you. I needed a breakdown. I need a chemical breakdown of the inspiration.
More like a spiritual one.
All right, we
Okay.
ready to get into it?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I'm excited.
All right, let's do it.
This,
Yep.
Let's go.
Mike Discipline. I'm going to roll through this like I did the other day. I'm going to skip some parts where I think that I went over them enough times. If you haven't got it by now, listen, go to the playlist. There are a bunch of listed Black Swan presentations. You can go catch up on them. But I am going to skip certain parts because I think they're irrelevant at this point. However, we're going to start off at the base. Hold on one second. What's up, honey? Dinner is 5. You want to say hi?
Those cue cards with the picture with the girl holding the doll with the balloons around her and all the different color cards. Technical difficulties.
They weren't technical difficulties. She wanted to ask me in the middle of the show what time dinner was.
That, in TV terms, that's technical difficulties.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So, back to the regularly scheduled programming. The horizon. It is the baseline, like we were talking about before, of the entire argument. It's very simple. From their alma mater wiki. The horizon is the apparent line that separates Earth from sky. From Merriam-Webster, the line where the Earth seems to meet the sky, the apparent junction of the Earth and sky sailing toward the horizon. And from Oxford Dictionaries, to put a capper on it, the line at which the Earth's surface and the sky appear to meet. You'd be surprised that some people don't know what the definition of horizon is. I'm telling you, I've heard it over the past 4-5 months. So I don't know what's going on out there. Mainlining fluoride or living too close to power lines. Something's up. Come on, people. We know these simple definitions, and we have to define our terms so no one gets confused. Right? We got a couple more. Let's go with the US DoD horizon. In general, the apparent or visible junction of the Earth and sky. That's a shocking surprise. As seen from any specific position. Also called the apparent, visible, or local horizon. Okay, well, that's a new term. The local horizon, what's that? Well, National Geographic comes to the rescue. They are the subject matter experts in this area. The local horizon, also called the geometrical horizon, what is it? It's the visible boundary between the Earth and sky. I don't know how many people over the past year have told me and us that the geometric horizon is not visible. What in the world? So you're just making stuff up. you're busted, right? We all know it. Everyone that can fog a mirror knows it, but they'll continue to do it. I can't wait. Oh, why is it apparent or not actually? That's what apparent means. In this context, it's not actually. That's what the word means. That's why they call it apparent. Number one, it's well duh, because the sky and the ground or sea never physically meet, right? Making it apparent. And number two, because of the observer's height. It changes due to your height. What can obstruct, obfuscate, or obscure the geometric horizon? Well, there's some things out there that can do it. Weather, atmospheric, waves, and tides are the biggest ones. The geometric horizon can never be more than. This is very important now. We're talking about strictly geometry. Geometry, get it? The geometric horizon can never be more than 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Now, it can be closer than that due to many reasons, and I went over them a few up here. No problems with it being closer than that, but it can never be more than, like I say right here. On the ball-tarred ball, the geometric horizon can never be more than, no more than what its geometric constraints allow. Makes sense, doesn't it? It's based on the observer's height and the radius. To confirm this, we'll go to Andrew Thomas Young, the subject matter expert from San Diego State University, Astronomy Department. If h is in meters, that makes the distance to the geometric horizon 3.57 kilometers times the square root of the height of the eye in meters, or about 1.23 miles times the square root of the eye height in feet. If we need a confirmation from that, we got the University of Washington. So for all practical purposes, we can estimate the distance to the horizon using 1.22459 times the square root of h, or perhaps even more simply as just 1.2 times the square root of h, which gives the distance in miles when h is in feet. So there's no problems here. This is just basic geometry. That's it. You can't get around this. There is no counter arguments to this. It's just what it is. The death of the ball-tarred spinning space monkey religion. Again. If the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every horizon distance measurement must be no more than 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Here it is, baby. The black swan. It's over. It is OVER. Observer's height's 1 foot. Distance to the geometric horizon is greater, or the distance to the horizon is greater than 9.41 miles. Why? Because the platform hill house is 6.21 miles away. Platform habitat is 9.41 miles away. It's obvious to everyone that can fog a mirror, even the legally blind, that the horizon is beyond the platform habitat at 9.41 miles, making it at least 10 miles away. It's much further than that, but at least 10 miles. But remember, the distance to the horizon maximum for a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles is only 1.22 miles. So 1.22 miles, it's not in this photo. And that's where it has to be, but it's 10 times further? No. It just destroys the geometry of the Earth. It's just as simple as that. I put 5-foot observer height. It doesn't really matter what the height of the observer at the taking this photo was. Even though it's 1 foot, it really doesn't matter because I can have them on a friggin' ladder at 35 foot at the beach. And the maximum distance to the geometric horizon is still 7.24 miles away, so that would be in between the platforms. You're still dead. It's over. At 35 feet, people. And everyone can see if you watch the original video. By the way, is in the description of this video. Shout out to BMLSB69. That's Bo. His original videos are down inside the description. So shout out to Bo. I forgot about you initially, sir, but I always catch up with you. Now to the argument. It's a simple Modus Tollens. Simple deductive argument. I chose Modus Tollens. Holy shnikes, this is going to leave a mark. If P, then Q, not Q, therefore not P. If the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, P, then every horizon distance measurement must be no more than 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, Q. Not Q, because the horizon distance is greater than 9.41 miles. We'll get to that in a moment. Therefore, not P. The Earth is not a sphere. That's it. The ball tard spinning space monkey community. Allow me to introduce to you your Black Plague. There she is. The Black Swan, baby. Isn't she a beaut? I think so. Let's see another one. There's another one. There are literally thousands of these that are undiscovered. Right? There's two for your viewing pleasure right there. You can't get around it. The geometric horizon needs to be where the geometric horizon needs to be, according to its geometry. If it's not there, then we got a rooster in the hen house. It's just as simple as that, folks. Now remember, it can be closer than what I state here. In this particular photo, the observer height is 8 foot. The maximum distance to the geometric horizon is 3.46 miles. Now, it can be closer than 3.46 miles, but under no circumstances can it be further than that. It can't be bigger than what its geometric constraints allow. As simple as that. We got Platform Charlie at 6.08 miles, and Platform Habitat makes another appearance. We love you out there, Habitat, at 10 miles. Where's the horizon at? When it should be at 3.46 miles. I'd venture to guess it's a long ways away, baby. Comments, questions to this point?
I'm just surprised that somebody in chat says that the water in the pictures isn't really there. It's an illusion.
That's a good argument. Best I've heard.
That's sarcasm, right?
Yes.
Okay. I thought
It's
so.
worth reiterating what the, because this was the very earliest of rebuttals, to stress what the argument is about. What is the argument about? Well, listen to the argument and you'll know. It's about the horizon. Every distance to horizon can be no more than. Well, that's all the argument's about. So it's always worth remembering that. Again, we may or may not reminisce in this little interlude about the refracted cranes, and maybe we'll come to that later. I don't know. We'll see how the presentation moves along. We'll just get a few more words from some of the other Ballbusters, though. Chocolate, Adam, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead,
John
Adam.
said it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Adam,
For me, yeah.
I'm sorry, man. There was a little bit of delay. Go ahead. You're good to go.
Right. Yeah, you've talked there. It's about geometry, and the Black Swan is very useful, because it's making them accept their geometry, or even their geometry is not there. And you talked about the second platform being 10 miles away. It's a long way away. And the thing that's happened over this year, and I didn't do it at first, but we went and back calculated. Whilst it may be 10, 11, 12 miles away, and in your mind, well, that's not a massive problem, as your baller would think. Actually, the reality, mathematically, with geometry, it is a ball, is even more devastating for them, because, as you said, if we just took the 10-mile platform, that means their sacred R value has to change to 264,000 miles, further than to the moon. And that, again, if you're going to paint this as a ball, is the reality that if you're going to have a geometric horizon, that's the reality of the implication of seeing it there. That's how big your R would be.
I want to add that there was a little bit of time, and some of them still say it, but when this argument first came out, that they would tell us things like, geometric horizon is the horizon you wouldn't expect to see. I always laugh at that because I think back to the word apparent and the definition for horizon. Now, Q, you said before, apparent in this context meaning not actual, but it also has another meaning, visible. So if the horizon is the visible demarcation of where the land meets the sky, it has to be visible. Well, if you have a geometric horizon that's not visible, is it a horizon? Anyone?
Well,
Mm,
I
No,
mean, it's not
It
appearing
would
to me
only be
anywhere.
in the math.
Thanks. I was waiting for that. It's not a horizon if you can't see it. So how
Yeah,
can you how can you tell us with a straight face that you have a geometric horizon that you cannot see? That
Because
goes against the very definition of horizon.
exact. Because remember what I said when I first started out, they don't know the definition of horizon. That's why.
Yeah.
Yep.
You do have the honest answer from one individual who would be the surprising person to say that you get the honest answer from, which is Rumpus. His answer to this is that the geometric horizon only exists in the maths. That was his answer. That is the truth of the matter. We only have one horizon, and the horizon in their geometric Earth curve maths is geometric, as I said earlier. Well, that only exists in the maths. So what does that tell you? It tells you that the Earth curve edge that only exists in the maths is not apparent. And as Chocolate's pointing out, apparent means you can see it. Well, if you can't see it, it's not your horizon. And the horizon in their worldview is Earth curve. So the horizon is an Earth curve because it's not apparent, and that's what they tell us, right? Not apparent, we wouldn't see it. Well, it would be apparent if it was our world. Just isn't.
There it is.
But isn't that because of their misassumption of terrestrial refraction? Isn't that already an integral part of that reasoning system?
Yes, we're going to
Good
get
point.
to that here in a couple minutes. Yes, you are correct.
This is correct. The paradox is named after him.
It's just that the whole train of thinking of this process has really stood out to me because when I was younger, it was this process from a baller perspective that made it feel like it was all that it was really going somewhere. Not really understanding that it's all basically trickery to reify a model instead of actually finding out the truth and then working with that. I didn't realize it back then, and it's just fascinating now to see it from the other side.
I mean, just add to Chocolate's point about invisible horizons. I think historically, certainly when I first come in, we've talked about reasons why that 1.22 can reduce. And if you've been looking at things from mountains, etc., and a lot of the pictures, and we weren't good at getting low, and that's the bonus for me. It's this invisible horizon could have blended if you're high up, because this is low down. It's not that it's an invisible horizon. In their model, it's a geometric constraint that has to be, if it's a ball, obscuring that. It's not about, oh, I can't just see the juncture of the sky and that meeting. This is a physical, as Nathan said earlier, hill in the way that should be blocking it. And that's what the Black Swan destroys with their geometry. Because there is no hill. There is no curve.
Right. And there were already early signs that we did notice this as flat earther without knowing the black swan argument by basically pointing out, hey, there is no tilt of all these things supposedly going over the horizon. It doesn't tilt. It's all just straight up. You know, when it's going over the curve, it's supposed to curve away the top of it. And that we never see that. So that was already a first hint. And now we perfected it.
Yes and no. It's the bulge, actually. That's if you're going back 4 years to what we actually debated about, is where's the bulge? And the bulge we didn't appreciate was their physical reification of an Earth curve edge horizon that blocks boats and buildings. And, you know, when that's the Black Swan again, I'm scratching my head. Why do they all go very silent, or very specific people go very quiet when you start asking them about the bulge? It's because it's the weakest part of their argument. It's also, on a slight sideline, the reason why we are asked as flat earthers why boats don't fall off the edge of a pizza pie world that's reified into existence by controlled opposition narratives from Flat Earth Society. The reason we are asked why boats fall over the edge is because that's the best line of attack if you've got a really weak part in your argument. And the globe Earth argument in this example has a very weak aspect to their argument. That's to say that they must reify the horizon into an Earth curve edge. That's the crux of their argument, right? Everything starts at the horizon. Well, if your horizon isn't actually physical or an Earth curve edge, better to ask anybody who might challenge you on that particular fact, like with the Black Swan, boom, boom, that your horizon edge is going to become something that we can ask you to prove. It will keep you distracted from our horizon edge of a world that boats are literally falling over in their maths. How much is blocked from the bottom in feet and inches is boats falling over their horizon, the physical horizon. That's why they ask flat earthers about boats falling over the edge, so they can ridicule us about that, and we are preoccupied with that rather than focusing on their edge, because they have, as globe earthers, literally got boats falling over an edge. Their edge is their physical horizon, and it's not physical. Black Swan's debunked it.
Right. It's disappearing behind the blocking curve, as it were. That's what they see it as. Also, I'd like to point out that in their acceptance of this fictional terrestrial paradoxical refraction, they also basically assume by that you never really get to see Earth as it is. It's all like it's relatively rare, if you just look at it statistically, to find the Earth actually looking kind of like a ball. That's a rare find. And then they pointed at, look, finally, it looks exactly how it's supposed to look. Well, on average, that's not, you often see too far, just a little bit too far, or a lot too far, which is very far away from how the ball Earth is supposed to look. So in their world, how they envision it, terrestrial refraction is literally warping visuals all over the place, and it's a rarity to see the Earth as it actually is.
It's impossible to see the world as it actually is if you're a baller, because there's always refraction according to them. Therefore, according to their worldview, the light is always being bent at 7/6 of the radius. If you think about that, that means that nothing is ever where it actually is in their worldview.
Right.
Precisely.
And isn't it ironic that they even say the only way to see it really as it is in a
Without the
vacuum?
atmosphere.
Is it in a vacuum, which is what it would be like if it was actually the way they say it is, because there would be no gas pressure.
Now,
So-
it makes no sense whatsoever. It would render all the world's militaries utterly useless. It would be obsolete. I can destroy their fairy tale. I'm going to get rid of this refraction here in a couple seconds, but think about that. The type of refraction they're talking about, you wouldn't have the world's militaries. They wouldn't work. None of them.
And nothing
the
would
funny
work.
thing, the funny thing that I find is when they say things like, "Oh, we always have refraction because we always have an atmosphere, and the only way we would see the geometric horizon is if we remove the atmosphere." So, okay, so you're saying if we remove the atmosphere, all of a sudden the horizon would appear at 1.2 miles away?
Yeah, that's
Really?
what they say. Yeah.
Really?
You got there.
Instead of actually opening it up and actually letting us see more, because you just got rid of the atmosphere, or atmos, because atmosphere is a oxymoron.
Exactly. Go ahead, Nathan. He hit
But
it.
I think that atmosphere gives
I
you
can have
Yeah, go ahead, Nathan.
I was just going to say, you've taken us to somewhere that I was going to take us to, but with a different route getting us there, which was Al-Biruni, right? Oh, right. So we need to remove all atmosphere to make Al-Biruni capable of measuring a geometric sphere edge horizon to derive R from. Aren't you
Exactly.
moving the horizon with the R that he derived just up a mountain, right? He didn't suck out all the air. The sky vacuum didn't suddenly obey the laws of thermodynamics that day.
Right.
think
He just
Can't
assumed
chocolate,
it.
yeah. Just think Chocolate's more eloquently making the point I was trying to do with the numbers. And where you put it makes a lot more sense. You know what I mean? There is that lump there. There is that hill there. What you're saying, Baller, then is you get 7/6R, which means I can see 10 plus miles. Yeah. So if we was to suck all the air away, suddenly I wouldn't be able to see past 1.2. There'd be an obstruction at that point.
Exactly.
Start to render
How
clear.
ridiculous is that?
Brilliant. Yeah.
It's bass backwards, like it always is, right? They can't think on their feet. Every single comment they have, they take the spade shovel, say hello, and then smash themselves repeatedly in the pie hole. They just do it every single time. You could just sit back and wait. That's why I always say, just let them speak, and they'll do your work for you. It happens every day. Come on to Betty's server, Science vs. Pseudoscience, or 24/7. Happens daily, every single day. And people laugh at them, and yet they still come back because they're fanatical religious zealots. That's fanatical religious zealotry, folks. There you go. We ready to roll? Let's do it. Let's go back. Let's see what we got here. Happy New... Boy, that was last year. Yeah, we're not going there. Potential debunks, there aren't any. I listed them here. I'm not going over them again. This is friggin' hilarious. I've had this presentation in from day one. This photo in my presentation. This is from BMLSB69. Shout out to Bo again. 4 days later. Right? I don't know. It's got to be in the mid hundreds. How many times I got this photo thrown in my face and said, there you go, QE, you're debunked. They don't even know what they're doing. They've never watched my presentation, which, remember, one of the first things is you got to know your enemy, right? Ball tarts. You haven't watched any of these presentations, or if you have, you still float this mind-numbing argument. Guess what this is? This is a black swan. But you don't know that. Unbelievable. We're going to get back to this at the end of the presentation. I'm not going to stop here. So, atmospheric refraction. See, I used to go through each effect of atmospheric refraction. I ain't doing it anymore. I'm not telling you what atmospheric refraction is. You've never known what it was. I'm speaking collectively to ball-tards. I can do that because I have never met a single globe-tard, ball-tard, spinning space monkey that knew what refraction was. Not only atmospheric refraction of light. They don't know what it is. All they do, refraction, and thinks it covers them. It's preposterous. I am going to drop anchor on one effective refraction and show how silly this is. Looming. Because that's what you all say it is anyway, looming, right? You just know the word. You think looming. It sounds bad. It must be rising above something. I don't know. Where'd you get your Mr. Magoo definitions from, right? But let's destroy this. So we got their alma mater wiki, looming. Looming is the most notable and most often observed of these refraction phenomena. It is abnormally large refraction of the object that increases the apparent elevation of the distant objects and sometimes allows an observer to see objects that are located below the horizon under normal conditions. This definition right here is factually incorrect. And they get it right from this bonehead down here. We're going to get to him, Andrew Thomas Young, in a second. Even within their wrong definition here, has nothing to do with the black swan. So, from Andrew Thomas Young, looming. The appearance above the horizon of a distant object, like I said above, that would normally be hidden below it. This effect is caused by unusually large terrestrial refraction, usually due to a thermal inversion. Looming is the opposite of sinking. Both are refraction phenomena, but not mirages. See the table? Refraction, la, 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 la. Yeah, you know what? Even in their wrong definition right here, it has nothing to do with the black swan. Why? Is the horizon appearing above the horizon in the black swan photo? Let's take a look. Is the horizon appearing above the horizon in this photo? No? Then it's not looming. Even in your corrupt definition, it's not looming. But you don't know that. The funniest part is that that's not even the correct definition. Unbelievable. Oh, by the way, the friggin' horizon doesn't ever loom. Ever, ever, ever. So now let's get to this part. I love this part. See this looming from Andrew Thomas Young? This effect is caused by unusually large terrestrial refraction, like Arwen brought up before. That's what we want to focus on a little bit here. What is that? You might ask. Well, let's find out. You see, terrestrial refraction is a stone-cold begging the question fallacy. It's circular. Does light refract? Answer? Yep. Is that the same that can be accounted for by terrestrial refraction? Answer? Nope. Key word, terrestrial. You see, terrestrial refraction already assumes a sphere, i.e. the calculations assume the radius of the Earth's curvature, right? From Andrew Thomas Young again, explaining this to you. The atmosphere is also curved. We got big problems with that. As it follows the shape of the Earth. In the calculations below, we'll adopt a rough value of 6,400 kilometers as the radius of the curvature to make the calculation simple. So they're assuming the premise, atmosphere is curved, which is batshit insane, then by proxy, Earth curvature, to prove the conclusion true. Terrestrial refraction, or looming. That equals a textbook begging the question fallacy, circular banjo do-si-do. You see the begging the question fallacies here. There's two of them. Number one, the atmosphere is also curved. Gases don't curve. They have no inherent shape unless you want to take to the woodshed every gas law known to man. Andrew Thomas Young, you pretender clown numpty dipshit. And the second one, they need the radius to even invoke refraction. Well, where'd they get the radius? Well, Al Bruni measuring the horizon. It's a circle jerk of mammoth proportions. This is preposterous. And remember what I said. This isn't even the correct definition. I'm going to give it to you here. So let's go back. We have Andrew Thomas Young, San Diego State University Astronomy Department, alleged subject matter expert, and we have quantum eraser, Andrew Thomas Young's Huckleberry. Let's see who's correct on looming with examples. You tell me. So, looming from Andrew Thomas Young, the appearance above the horizon of a distant object that would normally be hidden below it. So in his definition, it is objects in relation to the horizon that are coming up above the horizon, right? Not the horizon itself, even in that definition. That's even incorrect. So we have that definition against quantum eraser, Andrew Thomas Young, Huckleberry. Looming is nothing more than an optical illusion produced by the sky being inferior mirage underneath an object, giving the appearance of said objects floating above a false horizon. That's my definition up against the subject matter expert, Andrew Thomas Young. Let's see who's correct. So we got the first one. This is the quintessential example of looming that they provide, right? We used off-center vision to see the actual horizon, but what's happening here? We have the sky being inferior miraged underneath the object, giving a false horizon and giving the appearance that the boat's floating, right? You can see the false horizon right here. We're going to have Mick West square this way for you in a second, because even for me right here, it's a little bit hard to see, but off-center vision, it comes right out. I can see the horizon. But let's have Mick West have a shot at her. So we got the famous Mick West. What he did, this was from October 1st, 2017. What had happened was the press came out and called this a mirage, right? So Mick quickly jumped on it, and he's correct in correcting them. So Mick, all he did was color contrast this photo. Excuse me. He said this is not a mirage right here, and he is correct. It's not a mirage. You see the real horizon near here, right? It's the one that's pointed out by off-center vision, but color contrasting the photo brings it out a little bit more easily. Now, he said the false horizon is here, which is correct, but he gave a reason why it's a false horizon. He said that was due to fog. Mick, Bubby, if this was due to fog, then we wouldn't see the boat. You haven't thought this one through. But everyone sees what I'm saying here. So whose definition is correct of looming? Andrew Thomas Young, the subject matter expert, or his Huckleberry quantum eraser? That's rhetorical. We'll do another one. Looming. This is taken from the Scottish Open, right? We'll look at the left-hand photo here. You don't even really need this one on the right because you can see where the actual horizon is in this photo clearly. No off-center vision needed, right? However, it's Be Kind to Dumb Animal Week, and what they did was they color contrasted the same photo. So now you can see it. The actual horizon right here, and you got a fake horizon right here. And the sky is being inferior mirage underneath the object, giving the appearance that the object's floating. Sounds like Quantum Eraser, Andrew Thomas Young's Huckleberry definition, doesn't it? Does to me. And finally, Betty's fair. Hey, shout out to Betty. She couldn't make it today, but happy holidays, love. So, she said, as soon as she seen this photo, she said these boats were raptured. I thought that was pretty funny. They looked like they were going to, but let's see what we got going on here. Well, what do we got? Let's see. We got a fake horizon. You can tell that this one's fake before the objects, right? Because it's fragmented. Right then and there, you know that that's fake. You don't even have to use off-center vision. I can see the horizon right along here. I hope everyone could see that on the video, right? So what's happening here? Well, you can see the clouds collage that is reflecting being inferior mirage underneath the boats. Right? It's clear to see. Giving the impression that these boats are floating with a fake horizon. Whose definition is that? That sounds like Quantum Eraser's definition. So, in conclusion, with looming, remember, Andrew Thomas Young, subject matter expert, the appearance above the horizon of a distant object that would normally be hidden below it. That's incorrect. I just gave 3 examples of it. Right? There's many more examples. And my definition is correct. Just that simple. To go over it again, looming is nothing more. This is from Quantum Eraser, Andrew Thomas Young's Huckleberry. Looming is nothing more than an optical illusion produced by the sky being inferior mirage underneath an object, giving the appearance of said objects floating above a false horizon. Yeah. Every single example that I've showed, that definition holds true. And it's the correct definition. There is no argument against it. Andrew Thomas Young, you're a pretender clown, numpty dipshit. And anyone who's saying, refraction, you're screwed right here. That's it for you. It's over. We don't need to get in any detail about the geometric horizon and the refracted horizon. You can't get a geometric horizon from a refracted value. We don't even need to go there. You're dead right here. Comments, questions?
It's a wrap.
This all
What
looks
else can you
very
say?
familiar.
It's been a wrap.
So yeah, looming is one of those things that they threw us right at the early stages, and you can't utilize a looming that's being attributed to a refraction, terrestrial refraction, that requires an R value. It's one of those things that they throw out there. They don't quite parrot it in the same way as refraction, but they're utilizing this non-effect and then describing it as things that are, again, I don't know if paradoxical is the right word, but, you know, moving the horizon with respect to the horizon. Andrew Thomas Young, it's just a joke, right? And these are their high gurus, these are their high priests. You know, it's nice though, eh, QE? You're in the normie's worldview, lowest of the low. You're educating these people as a flat earther, and that does bring a wry smile to my face, I'm telling you.
You're very welcome, sir. And I ditto that, because I'm smiling too.
It's. I mean, I look forward firstly to seeing the correction in the optics manual. I don't know whether they'll use the title Huckleberry, but I look forward to seeing Gay Stunger in there, mate. Because technically, you know, what you have there is the correct definition of what we're seeing. And the point I make is, look at the contrivement that the ball model has to come up with to try and pretend what you're seeing is commensurate with living on a sphere. It's nonsensical, and even within of itself, you demonstrate it contradicts itself. So, yeah, I look forward to your definition being accepted, mate. Maybe it's time to submit it.
Stunya. Stunya. The J is silent, man.
Yeah, I'm from England, not Eastern Europe. It's yeah, that's with a Nottingham accent. That's locally pronounced over here. Stunya, I shall try in future, sir.
Stunya
You have
actually
to explain to where your huckleberry comes from.
No.
I was going to say Stunya gets a reference in the Principia.
In the Principia. You're done anyway. You already conformed to the Principia. You did it. I just listened to your video today. You said Principia and then tried to get low.
I gave you a knowing nod. I said Principia and then gave you a knowing nod. It was right in the middle of a point too, which gave it extra comic value.
Yeah, you did.
Prince Skippy.
Yep. Anything else on this? This is about over with. Do you want me to go over a little bit on Al Biruni? Just to tidy things up?
Can I just point out, it's
Go ahead.
funny when you read this Andrew Thomas Young guy, because he just says, oh, we'll just adopt a rough value of 6,400 kilometers as the radius of the Earth. Oh, we just flip and bounce the radius like it's whatever, right? Like it's okay. And that's how you tell us that you have a radius? You literally take the radius and change it in order to tell us that you have a radius in the first place?
Yeah, taking on habits from astronomers, is he?
How ridiculous is that?
Well, it's as ridiculous as the next bit. I was about to say that John's about to move on to Al Biruni, but before we go on to Al Biruni and the important principles of the way he measures things, just to remind ourselves that we've now confirmed that the ball model, Lite is definitely bending at a rate of 7/6R, not allowing anything we see to be a straight line. But let's go on to figuring out R.
Well, exactly. That's where he's going to go from here, right? Onto Al Biruni. Everything, and I'm not going to use the vernacular we use on the debate for what we call that line between non-tangent point horizon. But that bent line means they don't have the capability of performing the geometry utilized to assert that the Earth is a sphere. So in other words, to do geometry, you've got to have a tangent. Now, I'm going to start stealing thunder if I carry on. So I think this is the most appropriate moment to move on to, or back to, the presentation for Quantum Eraser, because it's going to talk about Al Biruni, and that it's a critical part of it because it leads on to Arwin's paradox. In other words, you can't derive an R value if you can't measure an R value. So yeah, you can't use it to move the horizon if you can't measure it, and that's where Al Biruni comes in. So over to QE, I would say.
Indeed. You can't utilize the paradox to prove the R value. Or yeah, you can't use it to prove it.
Well, I was going to give you a dog bone out there, Nathan. I'm trying to find it. Back in the question, we already did that one, but yeah, I'd have to find it. I thought I had it. Oh, remember that? It's a boat. I was going to give you a bone. We did it the last time. Let's just go to Al Biruni. So we'll do this in remembrance to Al Bubby. Remember Bubby? So this is what he did. Biruni, from 973 to 1048, that's AD, developed a new method using trigonometric calculations. Here's the important part: to compute Earth's radius and circumference based on the angle between the horizontal line and true horizon from a mountaintop with a known height. He calculated the height of the mountain by going to 2 points at sea level with a known distance apart and then measuring the angle between the plane and the top of the mountain for both points. So Biruni's estimate of 6,339.9 kilometers for the Earth's radius had an error of about 0.0026 and was 16.8 kilometers less than the current value of 6,356.7 kilometers. The idea came to him when he was on top of a tall mountain near Nandana in India. He measured the dip angle using an astrolabe, and he applied to the law of sines formula. He also made use of algebra in his equation. So this is what he did. Al was big A up here. And all he did was measure a dip angle to the horizon, right? And it points it out here in the definition. Lowest point of the true visible. Yeah. Sure. So this is what he did. It's just that simple, right? Well, folks, if we take every single refraction that we've received over the past, I don't know how many times we received it over the past 5 years. Has to be in the high thousands, right? How do you get a geometric radius from a refracted horizon, por favor? This is going to be a huge problem, globe monkeys. This is a huge problem. How do you get this? How do you get, and I'm going to say it again, how do you get a geometric radius from a refracted horizon? I'd like to know that trick. Anyone got an answer for that?
Yeah, I do.
Good.
You basically you step away and you look to a model, a mathematical model, and you just assume the value using that. So
Meanwhile, on the really is level, don't derive a geometric horizon. Have a straight line to it. That's what makes it a tangent point. The fact that it's got a straight line to it, that's what a tangent is. Well, if it's a bent line to it, refracted, that means deviated from straight, then by definition it isn't straight and isn't a tangent and can't have geometry ascribed to it anymore. So to answer your question, rhetorical though it may have been, you can't.
Let's get to that because I just found that part. This is for you, Nathan. And I know that there's a little bit of a delay, so I'll hold off. I forgot about that, but I'll hold off. Hold on a second, Adam. We're gonna do it because here's Andrew Thomas Young, again, subject matter expert, San Diego State University Astronomy Department, speaking to what Nathan just said. Dip angle, including refraction, from Andrew Thomas Young. So listen closely. So far, we have ignored refraction and drawn the line of sight to the apparent horizon as the straight line OG. But in the real world, there is some terrestrial refraction between the observer and the horizon. The line of sight to the apparent horizon is not straight, but curved. See that part right there? See that? So let's try to allow, you're going to allow for that curvature. Number one, apparent horizon is painfully redundant. He doesn't know what he's talking about. We already went over the begging the question fallacy terrestrial refraction with gases being curved over their non-curve Earth. Gases don't curve. Like I said, you bash in the face every single gas law known to man. So they're assuming everything. There's two assumptions in here, begging the question fallacies. And you, like I said, this kills it. You cannot invoke terrestrial refraction, which at its foundational base has R, ascertained by Bubby Al-Biruni, who based his calculations on a non-refracted horizon to calculate the geometric radius of the Earth. To explain a line of sight to the apparent horizon, which is redundant, that is not straight, but curved, refracted horizon, using that R value. This isn't just your average circle jerk, people. It instantly becomes the colossal, convoluted, circumdicular, crossway, breezing, crackhead, circuitous crankshaft of the cycloidal psychotic centillium. You're through. And that speaks to Nathan's point. So we'll wait for a couple seconds while he catches up and we'll let him go at it.
Yeah, exactly. It's what ends up in Armin's paradox. You can't move the horizon with an R value, bend the line of sight to the horizon when the line of sight to the horizon has been derived by having a straight line to it. So it ends in a paradox. You then no longer have a straight line to a horizon, and you no longer have a physical horizon. So in his first statement, Andrew Thomas Young says, until now, we've drawn a line of sight to a point that we can't see. He says that it's an apparent horizon. It's like, well, if you're telling us how the line to it is bent, i.e., it's no longer got a straight line to it, you can't derive the R to bend it with your description because you've no longer got an R value.
Happy birthday, Black Swan. You deserve it.
They'll have to invent a whole different type of bent line geometry for this one. Wish them the best of luck.
Say it. Just say it. Alan, just say it.
But Donkey,
That was
what
my
you
point
agree?
before. Just there, Alberuni actually states it, and he's not using Pythagorean basic Sokotoa. He says he's using the law of sines, which is still fundamentally drawing triangles. And last time I checked, I've never seen a triangle the bendy side. So it's either straight and you can use the law of sines, or if the line you're drawing is not a straight line, you can't use the law of sines. He does state that. So
Is that the conclusion of the presentation? Is there more? Because there's a couple of things I now want to chew the meat over.
You want to chew on? That's pretty much. I said happy birthday, Black Swan. That's pretty much it for the Black Swan. We got a couple other things, or one other thing to talk about, but you want to do that first?
And let's keep on the Black Swan for a little bit if we move on
Yes.
to different subjects
Okay.
afterwards. Well, just a couple of things. So, I mean, it's in summary, it's an epic argument. I love the Black Swan argument. It's brilliant because of the disclaimers that you get from the other side, the globe side, when they argue about it. So it is epic. And the bottom line is, all of this discussion in this particular show has been about how they get around not having a physical horizon. And Earth as a sphere requires a physical horizon. And if your distance to horizon is beyond where that hill should be, that physical obstruction that they formerly claimed was blocking stuff into the distance, because it's an Earth curve edge, right? That'd be the horizon. Well, the moment they say it's not physical, not Earth curve edge, not apparent, but bent and refracted, then it's not Earth curve anymore. And, you know, that's the most simplistic way I can phrase it. I mean, that's just to summarize out the point and hopefully keep it lighthearted moving into the chit chat about the about the the comment that you made to me when I foolishly suggested that we use a different Black Swan image. So just to warm you up to the discussion, lots of the ballers were presenting the rebuttal that it's bendy crane refraction that's causing the horizon to be moved. So they've got a tentative understanding of the Black Swan argument, and they're rebutting it by saying, look, there's clearly refraction in the image because the cranes in the image are all bent. Right now, this was getting irritating, and I said to Kiwi, like, why don't we just focus on this image where it's clear as crystal, at the same exact elevation, pretty much the same location almost, and there's nothing going on. It's clear. It's just use this. I'm sick of arguing about refraction and explaining to them that they need R for their refraction to move the horizon with R. He's like, no. I want them to say refraction, because as much as I just gave the argument in my description, I hadn't realized that yet. I hadn't realized that as soon as they say refraction, and at the beginning of the show, Quantum Eraser described this as them smashing the faces in with a shovel, because what they're saying is, I haven't got an Earth curve edge for a horizon, not a physical edge. When they say refraction, we now respond as follows. Welcome to flat Earth. So not a geometric sphere edge then, refracted. Yeah, we've only got one horizon. The horizon in your Earth curve model is marked with an X, labeled horizon, and geometric. Alberuni's measuring it with a straight line. The moment you say refraction, it's the end of globe Earth. Welcome to flat Earth. What is it, chocolate? Snacks are in the back, DJ's on the right.
No.
Loser outside.
No. No. I'll start it off for him. Welcome to Flat Earth, chocolate.
Snacks in the back, bathrooms to the left. DJ is taking requests and smoking them if you got them.
I like
Remember, I
that.
told you it's the DJ is taking requests now because it's 2021.
Oh.
DJ was on the way in 2020, so he's here now.
Oh, so he's
now
taking-
it's the party.
I got
This
you.
is
Good.
one
Good.
party.
Thanks for keeping me in the loop.
Huey
Gotcha.
and I have discussed this before the show. So what has come to follow? I've tried to deter and tried to discourage and all.
Hold on one second, Nathan. Before you get to that, I forgot one thing, and it's on the Black Swan. I'd like to get to that. Sorry about that. I'd like to present this. Remember, I said I was going to get to that other photo that was in my presentation before. I made this up a few weeks ago because it was just getting too nonsensical. It didn't help though. A lot of people said, "What is this?" that's the main comeback I got to this. But here we go. So we got the Black Swan. Both of these photos are provided by BMLSB69. Shout out to Bo again. Photo A is the original Black Swan. Photo B was taken 4 days later. Same camera and camera height. Like I said, 4 days apart right here. Not only are A photo and B photo both black swans, Baltards, pay close attention. Your physical sphere edge horizon that blocks boats and buildings has moved. Uh-oh. Does your spinning monkey ball inflate and deflate? Kaplooey. That's it. How you like me now?
Yeah. Again, to summarize the point that's being made, in terms of the Modus Tollens argument, when we say no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, that's the physical geometric limitation. So to visualize this, again, with my hill example, you're at a high location looking down on a hill and the stuff behind that hill that you can't see, it's a physical limitation, stuff that's behind it, and it's blocking it regardless. It always will be. That's how physical blockages work. And the moment it moves, it's not a physical limitation to our world, not an Earth curve edge. Now, what QE is saying is, you guys are suddenly asserting that this black swan on the right is somehow a rebuttal, but that implies that your physical rock sphere in a sky vacuum has what? Had a big giant tube shoved up its ass and been inflated? No, you don't have physical hillsides and their edge moving. That's not how a physical obstruction that you claim is Earth curve works. It has physical limitations. It doesn't move with the weather. Now, our horizon, on the other hand, is merely an apparent location that can change with weather, and it can go way beyond the physical reified limitations of your sphere fantasy, because it's not an actual location, despite your belief being in it physically blocking things. It's Earth curve edge nature that we've debunked with the Black Swan.
I'm just looking at that picture there, John, and take second platform and just call that 6 miles. That's where the horizon appears to be today. So as Nathan said, actually the opposite, mate. We appear to have a deflation from 264,000 miles to about 95,000 mile R value that day. So little down, very deflated that day, the Earth.
I would only have one question for them. Which one of these is the curve of the Earth?
Ironically, neither, because it would be off frame. So neither of these pictures would contain the location at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height if it was a physical limitation, i.e. Earth curve edge. It wouldn't even be in frame.
Precisely.
Yeah, it's a train wreck. So when we say, yeah, the second one's a black swan too, ha 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 ha, where would the sphere edge horizon be? Yeah, we've only got one horizon though, haven't we? What's the dealio with it moving and stuff when it's supposed to be a physical sphere edge for boats to fall over? How ironic. Yeah, 2015 people, shout out to you, all of you, when you were all challenged and frustrated with getting asked about your sphere edge. Well, wouldn't you know? They had boats falling over an edge the whole time, and their edge we've debunked. Black Swan's done it. You silver bullet, chuck it in your pocket and use it. Understand it if you're a flat earther. Quiver in terror if you're a globie. Because if you haven't understood it, at the very least, if you're watching and keeping up to date with the flat earth debate, you'll have seen the embarrassing position your compadres end up in when they try and defend it. Embarrassing, to say the least. Yeah, we'll segue the subject away, because there was a very serious note that, maybe Chocolate will get involved in. We'll see. But as I say, we've discussed this before the show, and the bottom line is, Quantum Eraser's got a problem with Darth Particle in the whole gas narrative, with them reaching the Kármán line and rebelling, burning their bras and stuff. It's a bit left wing. I don't know what you've got to say about this, Chocolate, because I really like the Darth Particle narrative.
Has political objections?
The Darth Particle? What is the problem with the Darth Particle?
Exactly. You tell me, quantum eraser, what's your problem with Darth Particle? I mean, it's only a story at the end of the day. You know, you can't actually have gas pressure without a container. This whole idea of them stopping at the Kármán line and burning their bras and then separating out into fundamentalist groups and then, you know, some of the feminists gaining weight and coming back down, go boom, boom. You know, all of that was just made up. So I don't see the problem with having a leader called Darth Particle in it. What's the issue?
Darth Particle. Unbelievable. I always love the burning the. Oh, 1 second. What's up, honey? I'm right in the middle of a presentation. Got 130 people. Do you want to say hello?
Shoes, that's the card, right? Little balloon, girl holding a book.
I said, would you like?
Article,
I said,
who's
would,
the emperor?
hold on, Arwen. I said, would you like to say something to about 130 people? And she said, she gave me that shaking of the hand. Oh no. Yeah. Now you can go, Arwen. Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask if there's a Darth Particle, who's the emperor?
Don't know.
Well, we covered that in the debate. I mean, that's not even that's a non-issue. You're trying to create issues now. You're just stirring trouble. You're just trying to rile QE up. Stop it.
Am I?
I always loved.
Okay,
I don't know where you came up with this, Nathan. It just cracked me up the first time you said it. When you said these particles, they burn their bras in rebellion of gas law.
That's the rebellious gas particles, man. That's my story. That's my story. And Nathan added on the burning of the bras, but yeah, I said the rebellious gas particles. That's how the gas pressure that we have here forms, right? And this cool heliocentric crap, right? There was a bunch of gas particles that one day decided to not act like gas. Said, no, we're not going to expand into the ever expanding vacuum. If we're not going to disperse like gas should, we're going to stay right here. We're going to post up.
It started.
It
started as vapors against entropy, and then eventually, it became all feminized and all that, and the bra situation.
You gonna post up, or you gonna do a creative layup?
In 10 years from now, 2030, the violins. How did they have such a rubbish working title, man? Oh, great story, solid plot, really good character development, and they called it The Rebellious Gas Particle. What a bunch of idiots. Sounds like some dog that's trying to make its way home.
Too fun. Yep, so that's all for the happy birthday, Black Swan. It deserves it. I'm going to be celebrating all day with pizza and wings. But I want to get to one other thing that I did add, that I was going to reveal the mystery commenter. What I did for the past 2 weeks is I have 6 comments an individual made. Okay? This individual is in the genre of the flat earth, globe earth debate. And what I did was I asked about 250 people so far over the past couple weeks who made these comments without giving the author's name out. Right? So I'm not going to reveal the mystery commenter. I'm going to reveal the questions because not everyone out there has seen the questions. So I'm going to hold off till Tuesday to reveal the commenter. But what I want you guys to do out there is I'm going to read these 6 comments and you tell me who you think it is. Okay? Here we go. Number 1, the calorie doesn't exist. It's a description of something that we've given it. I have these problems with everything. The nucleus, yes, that's what he said, nucleus. The proton, the neutron. They've taught people that these things exist. They don't exist. They're conceptions. Number 2, the definition of science is knowledge, and that's exactly what you figured out there. When you figure out how to make a computer work or how to make a car run or anything, you gathered what worked and what didn't work, and you advanced the things that did work, and that is the definition of science. As far as naturally observable phenomena, name something that is naturally observable phenomena that goes into it. Number 3, science cannot prove anything. It's not even meant to. Number 4, this issue is always, whenever you look at any test, is that you have to understand that the observations that are being done need to then be decided on by people. Number 5, look at everything around us. Everything that's been created or whatever. The only things that could be called true in the scientific method are those that have gone through this method that starts with a naturally observed phenomena. Well, if that's all you had to go off of, then we wouldn't have anything that we have today. A lot of these things, cars, vehicles, things like that, have nothing to do with naturally observed phenomena. They are trial and error, putting things together. Let me play with this. Let me put this here. What happens if I make the engine? And number 6, I don't want to just limit myself to, I have to have natural phenomena to do any kind of what I would call an experiment. So, these are the end of the comments. Again, this is one author in the flat earth, globe earth genre. I want to know, who is it?
Can
Now-
I get?
Annoying.
Now,
Is it Zanuck?
I got a number of people. 1 second. I got a
Hello.
number. I'm not going to poison the well. I just want to let you know what I got so far. By far, it's not even close. The first author's Gem Panda. The rest of the authors, get ready. I'll go through them real quick. George Mooser, McToon, Michio Kaku, Sean G, Professor Dave, Dr. or Professor Phil Belland, Pete and Pete, Dallas David, Fight the Flat Earth, Brenda, Zanuck, M. Scott Veach, Bob, the science guy, pseudoscience fallacy guy, Hillbilly Blue Balls, the redneck retard, a.k.a. the photosynthetic redneck, Kosho, and Bob from Glowbusters. Oh, and Arwen.
Excuse me?
Yeah, I got Arwen yesterday. So I put that down. Now,
Thanks.
yeah, I didn't do it. They told me who they thought it was. Now, that's who I got, just to give you some working knowledge. So I'm not going to reveal who it was today. Nobody on the panel is going to reveal it, and I'll reveal it Tuesday on QE Live. Thank
Is
you
it
very
one
much.
person?
All right. I don't know who it is, but from an guesstimation and the vernacular used and the like, you quoted it as much as possible, right? To me, it sounds or it feels like this could be Zanuck.
Okay.
But I
Yes.
don't know for sure.
Okay, and somebody asked me if this was one author. Yes, one person made all 6 comments.
What an
I don't-
asshole.
Oh, John, if I've officially voted yet. But I do know the answer, so I won't ruin it, and I'll give my guess. Can't see Arwen sitting on just one vote, so I'll go Arwen as well.
Right,
Sorry,
let's just-
Rob, I'm only picking.
And most of the panel
I
members.
might have said it
Oh God!
as a
With the
baller.
exception of Arwen, it's not you. God damn, you should know what you say. Anyway,
Yeah, but when I
So,
play a baller, I tend to forget, so I might have said it when I was acting like a baller.
okay, thank you. We've established it isn't put out there. So I also guessed. My initial guess was Gem Panda, and I might as well say I was wrong because that was the first one. Also, because I wouldn't have said it was wrong, other than the fact that QE lingered on it so long. I don't want people to think that that's a hint that it's Gem Panda. Well, I guessed that, and I got it wrong. And all we've heard is a list of the guesses that people have given. Right now, I don't want the chat to discuss this. Feel free, if you're watching, to put your guesses out there. The reason being, it's not going to get revealed on this show. So QE is going to reveal it on Tuesday. He said that already. So us discussing it at length will just go on and on and on. Whereas the people in the chat, feel free to have a little guess. You know, you'll find out from QE on Tuesday.
One question, Nathan, or for QE actually, is there a prize if somebody gets it right?
Hey, I haven't thought about that.
$1 billion.
Hey, hold up. Whoa
What's wrong
there.
with going on and on and on?
Yeah, whoa there.
Right.
Oh, hey, couple shout outs. Hey, Unicorn Laser Eye, sorry I didn't get to you. I had a super chat. Happy birthday to the Black Swan. Thank you very much, sir. And David Voy, thank you, sir, for shout out to 24/7 Flat Earth Discord peeps. Yeah, we already gave him a shout out too. So there you go, Nathan. That's all we got.
No, there is no prize for getting it right. Now, personally, when we actually discussed this subject, we didn't discuss Darth Particle in the pre-show. Anyway, when we did discuss it, I said, don't bother naming and shaming anybody. Just leave it out there. But Kiwi wants to, far be it from me to dissuade him from doing so. It's you be you, Kiwi.
Thanks, I will. It's hard
Maybe
not
the
to be.
person should get the prize then. Anyway.
That's it. Do we want to follow up on any more of the Black Swan? Is there anyone that would like to join? The Discord link is in the description box below. You could join. If you have comments, questions, or concerns, go ahead. Don't be scared. I mean, this has been going on for a year. Everyone on the panel, if I can't answer the question, I'm sure everyone on the panel can, because it's gone on so long. I don't even have to read the argument anymore. I know it, right off the cuff. So don't be afraid, man. Go ahead and join. We ain't going to embarrass you. Water's warm. No sharks here.
While you're controlling the mute button for people because I'm in the middle of doing something, got what I was going to segue with there. Yeah, hopefully you'll control the people coming in and out of the show. Oh, there you go. That was what I was going to ask. The argument is summed up in the first half of the Modus Tollens, and like you, I don't have to have it written down. If the Earth is a sphere radius 3959, then every distance to horizon can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That, for me, although it's not the full formulation of the Modus Tollens argument, that is just the argument, right? You don't need the other half. I'm prefacing that there is a further bit to add to that. What is the other half? Because I very rarely say it.
What's the other half?
Yeah, the conclusion I always end up stuttering and stammering over, because it's like, once you summarize the prerequisite to the argument, you've then got to summarize how it's demolished, which is to say, well, in the photo, the horizon's beyond 10 miles, therefore the Earth's not a sphere. But then I can't remember how you've written it down, and to just say in the photo the horizon is a bit vague, and it's not too specific when you haven't actually got the picture up, which 99 times out of 100 when I'm arguing it, I've just got the mic in front of me and there's a roll of images that aren't necessarily it going by. I try and contextualize it differently each time, depending on who I'm speaking to. But I always give the end part of the Modus Tollens completely differently every time. I just wondered what the actual bit that was written down, because I can't remember it. It's been a year.
You can't remember the second part of the argument, is what you're saying?
Oh, exactly. It's terrible, isn't it?
Do I need to drag us out anymore? It's real easy. It has to deal with it. The horizon cannot be any more than or no more than the 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That part.
That's where I end the argument. The conclusion.
That's the end of the argument.
Well, this summary is distance to horizon in excess of 10 miles in the Black Swan image. Therefore, the Earth is not a sphere.
That's
the
correct.
conclusion.
Yeah, that's correct. It's not Q. The horizon distance is greater than 9.41 miles. You had it. Therefore, not P. Yeah, you got it.
I do know it. I'm making conversation. Like sometimes you push the conversation along. Of course, I know the argument, but that's not how you get a conversation going about what the argument is, to cement it in the people's mind when they're watching. But I shouldn't have to say that. Let's just edit that bit out. So anyway, yeah. So how does the second part work? What's the conclusion? Hint.
Well, in reality, the conclusion is just asking them, well, where is the horizon in the Black Swan photo?
Do I have to do this myself? So the conclusion is that the Earth's not a sphere. Wow, I should really remember that in future, shouldn't I?
Oh boy, that was really good. Technically, the Earth is not a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles. I left the 3959 miles out for a reason, because it's the story that they tell us. They know it as a matter of fact. So if it's not a sphere, because it has to be 3959. Everything is based on the radius. That is day and night cycles. Every astronomical conjuring that they have is based on it. Gravity is based on it. Everything, all their orbital mechanics, everything is based on it. So it's not a sphere. I just didn't put the 3959. Go ahead.
I thought about that one because I used to stick that in at the end, as it were. So, thank you, Missy. In terms of as a pre-qualification, but I actually don't think it's necessary, John, because the reason you're making that statement is based on the presupposition that the horizon is something geometric. But more fundamentally, even in those two black swans, you see that has no relationship to any form of geometry. So it doesn't need the pre-qualifier of, as I talked about, the stretching out to 95,000 miles at 6 or 260. It's not relevant because, as demonstrated in the pictures, that horizon's got nothing to do with geometry because it moves every day. So relevant. It doesn't need the pre-qualification, in my opinion, anymore. Post-qualification.
Yeah, some people have taken issue with it because it's not technically accurate, the conclusion, but I just explain why. I mean, it's they're majoring on the minors anyway with the last part, but I think my explanation justifies it.
I agree. It goes without saying, right? It's set it in stone, both figuratively and what's the word I'd use when I say in their worldview, i.e., the way they reify it, because obviously that's not figuratively. They think it's physically, but I hesitate to use the word physically because we're not physically on a sphere. That's the whole point of the argument.
Yep.
But they literally take it as such. In other words, you're not going to change the size of the rock. That radius is set in stone from your worldview. It's not set in stone because we're not on a sphere. But for you, it is. It's set at 39.59, and that's it. You don't even have to declare it. You qualify the argument because you're disclaiming the physicality and its physical limits. So you give it a value, their value, which is unchanging and unchangeable. So yeah, it's not the ends justify the means. It's just a fact. It's just a state of their model and how it cements itself into that radius value and its physical limitations thereof.
Is that? Yes, sir.
Yep. Visibility can be limited. It can be, very cleared up, and then you can see far. But when it comes to looking over a geometry of some kind, the variance that will be cited thanks to any kind of atmospheric situations is just going to be dramatically less than when you look over a flat surface and the reach is potentially unlimited and only limited by the atmospheric situation. So it's a completely different setting.
Looks like we're getting overrun by people flowing into the Discord that has contention with the Black Swan. I'm being sarcastic. No one's come in here.
They're afraid.
That's pretty
That'd be
shocking,
the case.
people. Go ahead.
I mean, I was going to say it's worth reminiscing about some of the people who have come in with the best of intentions, as much as I'm chuckling, because of what I've disclaimed prior to now, which is that there are embarrassing consequences to trying to defend this argument. Your best bet if you're a glober is to stay stum, not say anything, because all you're going to do is embarrass yourself. And in the past, we've described this as saying like a labyrinth with flamethrowers at the end of every single tunnel, or every single way ends up in a welcome to flat Earth. There's various different ways that we describe this. What we're driving at is the fact that when you come to actually argue it, your only defense against it leaves you relinquishing your model. And we trim that out and hold it up and put it on a t-shirt. And, that's not necessarily something you want attributing to your name when we start quoting you. And that's what we do, right? We quote them on what they say when they're basically telling us and our audiences that the world's not a sphere. Horizon's not Earth curve. That's what they're telling us. It's a really powerful argument to end up. And again, back to QE, all credit where credit's due. Once you're into the argument, you can sit back. Just wait for them to tell you how non-spherical the Earth is, or how non-physical the horizon is, or how the horizon, which is required and demonstrated and argued as being geometric, is actually refracted. You can sit back and just smile. Or, moreover, welcome them to flat Earth as you do so. I mean, can anyone... I've named a few. I'll just go over and maybe give a bit more padding and detail to the ones I've named already. But can anybody on the panel to open it out a bit, reminisce about those particular instances?
My favourite this year was he's already been mentioned, Nathan, but we're sat there, and you're kind of oblivious to it because you're in hammer and tongs, because it's been a while since Timmy had been back in, and but you've been kind enough to put his pictures up. So for me, that was the best one because that was again proof from QE's point of view that you still don't get it because Tim Osmond sat there and he's still oblivious to the Black Swan argument, so he puts up pictures of your geometric horizon. That was my favourite this year, to be honest.
Yeah, but then he denies it. He puts the pictures up and he denies it.
Well, he didn't just deny it; he denied it 3 times. Feel free to check out that show.
Yeah.
It's a great show from beginning to end, which is why I didn't trim out Tim's bit. But it's it's got his name in the title. It's a recent debate. You won't find it difficult to find my smiling face on the thumbnail. Anyway, in that particular show, he said it in 3 different ways, 3 separate occasions, really clear, so everyone could hear it without any interference from anybody. Nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve. Nobody is claiming that the horizon is an Earth curve edge. He said it. I can't remember the third way, but he said it. And I might be paraphrasing on either of those, but it doesn't matter. Feel free to go out and trim him and phrase him verbatim. But the point is, he said it in 3 different ways, completely unimpeded. He essentially, like Judas, completely sacrificed his own model before us, told us how non-physical the horizon is, how it's not Earth curve. And that's in response to the Black Swan. Again, I'm going to drum this home as much as possible. Anybody else got any other
You're combining Judas and Peter.
Yeah, Peter is the one who denied him thrice.
Well, I can remember from very early on in the year that Rumpus very quickly, in response to the Black Swan situation, started out claiming that we never claimed the geometric horizon. You can't see it. So he really started out very early with that. Like he was going to first it.
Right. What you'd have above my head is 2 speech bubbles, right? 2 thought bubbles. One saying, should I say that's majoring on the miners? Or should I say, well, that pisses on my bonfire? Which one shall I pick? Peter and Judas getting missed up. Thanks very much. I thought it was a really good point.
It was really good. I hated to do it.
They both denied him, but I just said you're putting them both together. One once, the other guy 3 times.
As that other bubble disappears, well, that pisses on my bonfire.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nathan.
We should have let it go. I could have just put it with the show notes.
Nathan confuses Judas and Peter. Don't worry about it. People, he's not really into this stuff. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Don't worry about it.
It didn't take away from your point, though. We all understood it. It was a good point.
Yeah, it didn't, and until Neil made absolutely sure that it did. Thanks for that, Neil.
No worries.
No, it's all good.
I was listening to Witsit today debate some guy Geck, and I just couldn't take it no more because they don't slay him like you slay him, Nathan. Let him get away with so much stuff. So, props to you. I love the way you slay, Nathan.
I'll take the compliment. Thank you very much. But by the same token, the same principle applies to earlier when I was talking. I can't remember what the subject matter was at the time. Obviously, Black Swan related. But, let it own his victories, man, and praise him for them, man. The guy's out there. He's a warrior. You should be praising him. We'll give him a lot of flack because we're having internal discussions about gravity with their side, as it's now being dubbed, with people like Bob, with people like Jerem, with people like Witsit. And no. Right. Hold these people up and praise them. When they're arguing the toss with the globe heads and winning, praise them, man. Praise these people because they're championing the arguments, and that deserves nothing but praise as far as I'm concerned. As much as I'll take the compliment that you're saying, oh, they don't slay them like you do. Well, there's a lot of criticism in terms of the way I slay people that I could easily just power up.
No, that's only jealousy and just complaints and sharing pain of Globerside. So
any more smoke in my ass, and I'm gonna set on fire. Let's go. Let's keep it on that one and how important it is. Because in all seriousness, I don't want that to be distracted away. Especially on the first anniversary of the Black Swan argument, number one argument in our arsenal, debunking the notion that we have a sphere edge beneath our feet. a curved Earth is not beneath your feet. We don't live on a model, and we automatically, or very early on in the argument, debunk the R value as a begging the question fallacy. If you listen to the first part of the black swan argument, it starts with begging the question fallacy. That until then we said, well, we're not going to beg the question. We're not going to just automatically assume that the Earth is a sphere with radius 3959. And the beauty of the Modus Tollens argument, or it's born out of necessity, because when we started pointing out that it's a logical fallacy to just automatically assume the Earth is a sphere, the consensus around the people we argue with said, yeah, but we already know we're on a sphere. In other words, justifying the begging the question fallacy, we already know. That's not the justification for begging the question fallacy. It's just the consensus viewpoint being used against us and us not winning the argument. It seemed so unfair at the time, but out of I was about to say, out of crap grows roses. Well, out of that crap pile of people saying, yeah, it's okay for us to beg the question we already know. What the hell? This is an extraordinary claim. Beg the question is just an outrage in terms of debate. But there we go. That's where we find ourselves. We already know it's a sphere, so it's okay to beg the question. Therefore, out of necessity comes this beautiful rose of an assumption that the Earth is a sphere, and then the demolishment and ashes that are left in its place when you assume the Earth's a sphere, radius 3959, as they assert they already know. Well, let's assume you already know. Oh dear, it's beyond the physical limitations of that. And your horizon, what's that? You say it's refracted, so no geometry, no Earth curve edge. Bye, globe Earth. It died in 2020. Now, most people who came to flat Earth prior to that would say, no, it died on the insert date I found out Earth was flat. No, it died 1st Jan 2020. That's when the Earth died as a sphere.
I think it died a little before that, but yeah, in 2020, it was literally the nails in the coffin and a very tidy, well organized funeral, basically.
I would say to us, it might have been dead before that, but in 2020, it became dead to them as they started telling us how non-geometric their horizon is. So much so that they started telling us, oh, yeah, that's the apparent horizon. Really? Did they tell us about apparent horizons before the Black Swan? I remember that.
They're just in grief. They're grieving over their dead globe, but yeah, their grief is still expressed from a conscious perspective of denial. Basically, they're admitting it's dead, but it's real. It's real.
Yeah, you're both right. So, Chocolate, you're so right. But Arwen, you're also right. I mean, ultimately speaking, it's kind of like forced attrition. They're being forced to tell us in their attempts to rebut it. In other words, they're not coming from a position of acceptance. It's not like they've overcome all of those obstacles. They're very much in denial / bargaining. They're not at acceptance. But by way of the structure of the argument, it's forced upon them in their own arguing of it. In other words, it's not like we have to argue all day and then reach a point where the argument might not be understood by the audience. At the end of the argument, they're telling us how non-physical horizon is. Furthermore, they're telling us that nobody claims it. In other words, they're saying, well, nobody's claiming Earth is a sphere. It's like, well, you're telling us that. So it's foisted upon them whether they like it or not. That's why I say it's dead, because all of the other points prior to the Black Swan, right, that you could argue, you could get to the point where the person arguing it can still say to themselves, yeah, but the Earth's still a sphere. And it's just the case that I don't know how to overcome this argument. Now, they can't walk away from an argument about the Black Swan and say that because they've just told their opponent how nobody's claiming the horizon's Earth curve, or the geometric horizon only exists in the maths, or no one's claiming we see geometry. It's like, when you say those words, you're telling us how dead the globe is. Yeah? It's not like we're now saying, well, we win, we concede victory because blah, blah, blah. You've just told us how dead the globe is, Fundy, on the globe side. Now, you might not want the acceptance, and it's going to be far more cognitively painful to then hold both positions. Because the one position which you may hold, i.e. Earth's a sphere with a physical horizon, you've verbalized and told an opponent how non-physical it is at that point. So, that I do not envy them in that regard. The ones that have come and debated us specifically about it, man, do I not envy that position? How painful is that? Telling your opponent, well, nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve. Can we now look at my picture? This is Earth curve.
I think you're losing.
That was Tim Osman, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's classic losing it, buddy. Hey, shout out
mean-
to Powell Broda. They just shouted out Q and Nathan. Appreciate that, sir, for the super chat. Thank you, or ma'am. Oh, I got one more thing. I'd like to go back to what Neil commented about a debate that went on with Witsit versus some Geck guy. You have to take it with a grain of salt because Witsit spoke to me yesterday. Was it yesterday? Or I think it was yesterday that he tried a different technique that was more empathetic. So just to have that in mind, okay? Neil. Bubby. Hello? Neil. So I just wanted to say that, like I said, he was trying a new technique, more of a third-party beneficial type of thing instead of dragging him around by his short hairs. So he did it purposely. Good. Thank you.
Gonna play it on the show?
No, he's just telling Neil because Neil was like, "Don't slay him like Nathan does," and he's got a correction from somewhere that says, "No, he does slay him like Nathan does, which it's just as good as he always was." In this instance, he was trying a different tact, but Neil's not responded once, so it's kind of reaching out but not getting anywhere. So I'm responding for Neil.
All right. Anything else, guys? We want to do final thoughts and channel shout outs. Oh, sorry. You know what? I missed one part. Hey, Crit. He's still in here. Sorry about that, sir.
I had one more memory, which was a consequence of that. As Nathan was chatting there, the other one that as the cognitive dissonance and the reality and trying to work around the maths that you presented. It should be my favourite because it's a maths one. Is the realization from Mr. Sensible? Wow, best you've disproved the R value, as if that doesn't destroy his whole world.
If you would have came in on time, you would have heard that.
Well, I didn't. Do it again. It was a corker.
Hold on, wasn't that 2019? Technically,
No, that was 2020. That was to Mitchell from Australia, and to get the quote right, at best you would debunk the radius.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh wow!
How could it be 2019 if we're celebrating the Black Swan's birthday today? Come on.
Hey, Neil, you're breaking up, sir. Hey, we have two people in here. Crit, I'm sorry, I seen you in here. Any comments, questions, and concerns with the presentation?
Yeah, outstanding. I was slaying a wizard today called Paid NASA Shill. He had a thermonuclear meltdown going over the Black Swan, and he had to get kicked off. Righteous booted him for just constant vulgarities. Then I finally coaxed him in DMs I go, if you don't like my explanation, come listen to QE explain it. And then if you still got problems, ask a question. And he stuck around for about 45 minutes in text chat, and he finally ran away. The refraction was his big thing, and once you hit refraction, he said, "I can't take any more dumb," and he just surrendered.
Oh, that's ironic because I have he and I on a debate that's coming up in the next couple weeks on my channel. So thanks for the plug. Paid NASA Shill. Look out, man.
Yeah, it's going to be an easy slaying. That guy is dumb as a box of rocks.
All right. Any comments on the Black Swan or concerns, questions, anything?
Happy birthday. It's been a great year. It's been without Black Swan, I don't know how we got through 2020.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Travis.
Hey, how are y'all?
Hanging in there, man.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I caught in about a half hour or hour and a half late, but yeah, it was great, man. It's actually my birthday today too, so.
You a Black Swan, man?
Oh shit, man!
I'm still in the hunt.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. No, it's great. Black Swan changed everything. They don't have anything to work with. You took all their toys away. So amen and rock on.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks for all your work, man.
Shout out to Al Broder. Shout out to Brenda. No, I'm not going to read that. Sorry. Thank you for the super chat, though.
Yeah, I just seen it. Yeah. Thanks. That we still appreciate it, Pal Brother. Everyone's seen it in the super chat anyway. We don't need to chat that.
Is Brenda's chest flat?
Hey. All right, Nathan. We want to round out. We can go through everyone. Final thoughts, channel shout outs, and the like.
If we start with Arwin, but actually shout your show out, don't just talk for a few minutes and then not shout it out.
I'll try not to forget this time. No, I'll just get straight to it. I'll leave the comment about Brenda. It's not really relevant. I haven't heard of Brenda in a long time. I hope she's still okay and not in a mental hospital by now or something. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I have a daily channel, ARWIGN. I do a daily show every day at 1 p.m. Amsterdam time, the Flat Earth Early Bird Show. Pretty much in lockstep with the Nathan Oakley show during the weekdays and still with premieres in the weekends. Pretty early for the United States, but yeah, I interact with my chat a lot. Kind of grown dependent on it for subjects because I pretty much wake up not too long before I start the show, and it's always good to have some subjects through people in chat. Yeah, hope to see you there, and keep it flat.
Chocolate saying next?
Well, as usual, great presentation, Kiri. Happy birthday to the Black Swan. Been a year of celebrating the death of the magical spinning space ball. So, beautiful thing.
Channels you want to plug or anything? Maybe plug 24/7 if nothing else.
Yeah. Obviously, shout out to you, Nathan. Flat Earth Debates, and shout out to 24/7 Flat Earth Discord 2.0. So, yep, catch me over there.
Adam, you there?
Yeah. You didn't see me on your show a lot. What the bonus of this year? They're only one of the few, Nathan, getting drawn on your shows a lot more because of the virus. They see me there. Obviously, you guys see me on here and do these Tuesday shows as well. I enjoy those. And who else? I mean, you can always check my channel out, and you might get such classics as a rendition of Dirty Old Town on New Year's Eve when I'm a bit inebriated.
Which was awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll see me about, but there you go, yeah. Right, before QE asks me to take us home, can you actually do a plug for your own show, QE? And if you're watching this on Nathan Oakley channel, this will have gone out already. So can you do a plug for your own show?
For this Tuesday, for you talking to me or Adam?
You, I know this is on your show, you're hosting it, but I know you'll ask me to round out and I'll plug my show that's running now. But in the meantime, you've got a show to plug, right?
Yeah, on Tuesday, and it takes place every Tuesday. Now, the new times are at 1400 U.S. Central Time or 2 o'clock U.S. Central Time and 8 p.m. UK. So be here or be Sphere this Tuesday. Going to be a great, we always have some good shows on there. And we'll move on from there. Good.
Perfect. I'm to round us out.
Yes, sir. Take us home.
So with that, I'm going to say first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you watching and all of you who have debated utilizing the Black Swan argument. You guys are ace. Own the argument, know the argument. It's epic. It is by far and away the highest of number one that you could imagine in terms of globe Earth debunking. So massive shout out, obviously, to Arwin, Chocolate, Quantum Eraser, and the Adam Meakin for hosting and presenting the flat earth arguments throughout the last 12 months and indeed on this Ballbusters. Be here or be Sphere for brand spanking new flat earth debate, uncut and after show going out on my second channel, which is Nathan Oakley. That is premiering right now. I've been spamming the QE live stream chat with the link to go and watch that. So be here or be sphere for brand new Flat Earth debate, uncut and after show on the Nathan Oakley YouTube channel. Another massive thank you to all of you who've been watching. I've been Nathan Oakley. Massive thank you to QE, and we'll see you all in the next Ballbusters.
Every